Hello, internet friends. In this video, we're continuing to work on the fuselage. What I just did was cut apart uh, whatever bracket this is, one of the fuselage bulkhead brackets. And so basically they come together, right? And you need to cut them apart, and then you cut apart some angled aluminum to make another edge for it, and you rivet it together, which I don't think we do in this video. You can see here the angled aluminum. You need to measure 1 and 5/8 inches to cut it. And so that's what I was doing, trying to make it precise with my calipers. And then next we just have a whole lot of deburring. And so when you start a new kit, you'll find out that you have a bunch of ribs, you have a whole lot of metal pieces, and they all have blue vinyl on it. And when you take the blue vinyl off, that means you're going to deburr that part. Also, quick note, to get blue vinyl off all these pieces, child labor is a perfectly acceptable solution. They enjoy getting paid in, I don't know what we're getting. Oh, you know what we got? We got candy to watch a movie for movie night. So that definitely worked to get the blue vinyl off. Okay, so through the process of manufacturing a part, right, it gets cut or bent or some process that gives it a rough edge. And it's really hard to understand by watching a video, but if you pick up a part and run your finger over it, you'll feel that rough, sharp edge. I know everyone's felt a sharp metal edge, and I'm not talking sharp, I'm talking like rough, sharp, where you're like, ooh, this is not smooth. Like everyone's felt a knife before where you're like, okay, that's sharp and fine, but this is sharp. And like if you ever reached into an air conditioning duct or something, right, or dealt with something sheet metal, like that edge, you need to get rid of it. And that's what this wheel does here. So, and it doesn't take a lot of effort, right? You just lightly touch the part to this wheel, and it takes that edge right off, and it's magic. Now you could also do it with a file, right? And people spend hours and hours and hours filing. To me, I'd rather just use the wheel because it takes literally 3 seconds. There's some places you can't use the wheel, and that's where you use the file. Obviously, if it's too tiny to stick in the wheel, and you'll see here. And then deburring the holes that were drilled, right? You can't use the wheel for that, so you have to use a deburring tool. And then inside of these ribs, right, there's no good way to make the wheel do that. And so what I figured out to do is I have another tiny little Scotch-Brite wheel, and I put it on the drill press, and then just use that to deburr the inside edge of these ribs. And it seemed to work out pretty well. Okay, so while I'm finishing up deburring, let's go to updates, I guess. So I did take my broken air compressor back to Lowe's and basically just exchanged it for a new one. I got home and pulled it out of the box, and it worked, except for there was a leak where it comes from the compressor motor into the tank. And it seems like what they had done was tried to Loctite the fitting into the motor, except they didn't do it that well. So basically what I did was I ran the motor, it got hot, Loctite got a little loose. It was red Loctite, so that only comes loose if you get it super hot. But fortunately they didn't use that much. So I was able to get the fitting out, clean it up, and then I just used some Teflon tape, some gas Teflon tape, and put the fitting back in. And then no leaks, so everything was good. Compressor seems to run fine, so we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it doesn't break again in 2 weeks, but I'm already questioning the quality because my Home Depot compressor, even though it's super loud, I've had that for I don't know how many years, and have never had a problem with it. So we will see how. I will let you know if it's worth keeping this compressor or not. Okay, and we are almost caught up to real time, just a couple days away here. But to update on the great net plate shortage of 2021 from Vans, apparently, since both bags that I have that are back ordered are net plates. And Vans did not answer my email on, hey, do you have an ETA on these net plates? So anyway, I ended up ordering net plates from Spruce, but they weren't the dimpled ones. So I figured, well, why don't I just dimple them myself? And I did order a couple dimpled nut plates. They're twice as expensive. And they look better, and I like them better, but I don't know that they're worth twice as much. And there's 200 and something of them, so literally that'd be like $200. So anyway, I just dimpled some myself, and actually they seemed okay. So, in fact, on some of the ribs it says to dimple a K1006 nut plate yourself. So, there you go. Yeah, anyway, looked okay and seemed to work okay. And one of the things I like to do when I put a nut plate on is to put a screw in it to make sure that the threads are okay, because sometimes you might rivet a nut plate on and you don't notice that the threads aren't there or don't work or cross thread or whatever, right? And then later when you want to actually go install something and screw it in, and maybe you've already put skins on or whatever, and then your nut plate doesn't work and you have to drill it out while you're upside down or something. So anyway, I want to avoid that, and so what I like to do is test every nut plate before I rivet it on, and then I might save myself a lot of trouble in the future. Anyway, I'm sure I will repeat all this when we get like 3 videos in the future, and what I'm talking about actually matches what I'm doing in the video. Right now I'm just cleaning up these parts and getting them ready for primer. Someone did ask me which primer I'm using. I'm just using Rust-Oleum self-etching primer that I buy from Home Depot for like $5 or $6 a can. Anyway, in the next video, I make some not so expensive mistakes, but I'm still sad that I made them. So see you then.